going to call to order the monthly meeting of the Point Roberts Community Advisory Committee,
Phones on stun.
October 16th at 7 p.m. First item is approval of the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Next is approval of our minutes from September 18th.
I'll give you a motion to approve the minutes.
Do I have a second? Me. All in favor? Okay, now we have our first of two public comments before we get into the economic development strategy. Does anyone have anything that they would like to bring up, discuss prior to us going into the economic development strategy?
I'm not sure if Mel sent it to you. I sent an email about the board of ours. I don't know if any of the committees will talk about maybe the collection for food while they're on day, buy food for market or lunches or something.
No, she did not forward that to me, but that is definitely we can have a community discussion about it with the different groups. And the only thing is I know my family used to do that back in the day for like Thanksgiving and Christmas. We used to take them Thanksgiving dinner, Christmas dinner, and then it actually got to a point where they told us they actually couldn't accept it because it could be considered a bribe.
Right, that's what I thought. You know, like one of the communities, it's not from an individual.
I can check with the court director and ask if there is a way we can do that.
I thought even it was money that they spent in the market, they'll benefit money was back into the market too.
Well, yeah, so then we could have a discussion with Ally and it would be an anonymous fund that you would know where the money came from. Yeah, I can talk to the court director about that. Great idea. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none. We have Tyler Sherman from the Port of Bellingham here to give us the final.
Yeah. Thank you. So let me put the technical thing.
You can just share screen or show yourself up. There we go.
Good. How's up? Yeah, yeah, perfect. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. It's a long day,
Good
Tyler.
evening, everybody. Tyler from back up, getting the economic development strategy that the board's been working on and Mal Foster along me. I did bring some handouts. I know that, handouts available online and you can go and click and find the report and find the implementation table. The first handout is the executive summary. The second handout is the implementation strategies. There was a lot of conversation about ensuring that there is an indication of funding and some grants and some implementations and steps associated with it. So I'm going to just call attention to those two documents. Happy to stand up while I present and grab those, but we'll walk through it more as well. Coming up here tonight, 20 years ago, this time I well, building permits and shoreline permits, so I'm not sure how much you strategize ways so it's development. So now in my important strategy, I hope that you can see what this land strategy. It's gone. We heard
The sound quality is horrible. Is there a way to adjust it?
I don't know. You all,
You're cutting off like 2/3 of what you're trying to say.
Are you muted on your?
I am muted. The mic.
Yeah, give it a
That's
second.
true.
I'm gonna try and move the owl closer.
Oh, closer to me, perfect.
Is that supposed to be the speaker too? There we go.
Is that a little better for those that are online?
150%. Jared agrees.
Okay,
Yeah, it used to. At first, I heard zero what you said. Now I hear
Okay.
all of what you say.
that sounds great. So I won't rehash what I said. I was just trying to recognize the time that I've spent up in Point Roberts and the values that we have heard over the years and the values that we try to incorporate in the economic development strategy report. And that's what this work is trying to lay out strategies that we heard from the community that can kind of take the next steps. And so, I would love today. Here's some ideas. Parts of the strategies he's already working on. What parts of the strategies? Some ideas about.
I'm sorry, you're back to cutting out to nothing again. Jared, would you
Yeah,
agree?
it's back to zero.
Maybe I'll just do this.
Yeah, really want to hear what you're saying, so thank you.
Yeah. And so, I think also a lot of the strategies, there's 5 strategies, they all kind of together. So when you go through and think about strategies, think about it all work.
I can't hear anything.
Thanks, Jared. Me neither.
Have to mute the owl.
Is that any better?
Yeah.
Jared, did I get
That I
a
can
thumbs
hear.
up? Not really.
Yes.
100%,
Yes, I can hear that.
100% better, whatever you did.
Oh, right. Right. So when we
I've got an echo.
Allison,
so
you
when
are
we mute
for the
that
issue.
owl,
Mute.
can you hear me better now, Jared? Yeah, so I think that's a thumbs up. So in that situation, we won't be able to take feedback from online until the end. So you're muted, so we can't hear your input. So I just wanted to recognize that, but we'll get to it at the end there. So, a lot of the strategies fit together. And if you start to think about kind of how they move forward and which components of the strategies you're interested in, or what associations you're with, whether it's PRCAC or the chamber or others, I think if everybody can identify to a few of the strategies, we could start to move forward with those ideas and see how they all fit together. So that's my really bad photo. Tyler Schroeder again, Economic Development Director at the Port of Bellingham. Remember the Port of Bellingham does economic development countywide. So we own a number of properties in the Bellingham area, in the Blaine area, but we have countywide sustainable economic development throughout the county, which is a part of the study as well, which is why I am able to come up and kind of present what that is. As we were looking at project goals, as we started this, we really wanted to identify the challenges and the opportunities. We all know over the last few years, and even, the last few decades, there's been both challenges and opportunities as it relates to border traffic, as it relates to the identity and the opportunities here in Point Roberts. And we wanted to make some recommendations to strengthen the economic base, provide more resiliency to the businesses that are up here and the streams of revenue and the economy, and develop a prioritized list of infrastructure and projects that, again, when we came up last was May or so of this year, laid out kind of our economic baseline information,
was able to take a lot of input and do different community surveys and interviews on it, and now have identified a strategy, which they're fairly broad, a few of them, and that was for a reason, so that we can really try to fit as many of the community's goals and projects into it. Then the resource of this document becomes potential funding sources, becomes in the implementation table strategies for grants or different county funds, port funds, Washington State Department of Commerce, the CURB dollars that we use to this. We used planning grant dollars for this study. There's also infrastructure or development dollars available through CURB. And when you look through the implementation strategy, hopefully we'll see where those are. So really, the purpose was to identify actions to take in the service with the community goals in mind. Really, the community acknowledgement and the ownership that's in economic development. You all live here in Point Roberts. You all have such ownership of Point Roberts. And I think when you really get to it, you all want to see Point Roberts be a place that builds community, and in that builds economic development ideas and strategies where it goes. So, my hope in this conversation is to really sustain the momentum, and that there's some projects being discussed even later today at the PRCAC that really kind of identify some ideas. And I would love to continue to come visit Point Roberts and help identify funding sources and ways to go to the county executive and tell them the importance of these types of projects, talk to the Port Commission about ways to go, and then also help strategize the community's kind of action plan on some of the projects that you all are developing, and keep the momentum going forward. Because there is, through this document, a platform for future funding opportunities. And really, I think the hope is that it becomes kind of a high level, we indicate North Star here to really guide some visioning and long-term decision-making to move forward. When you look at the implementation strategies, we've identified it in short-term, medium-term, and long-term. And I really hope that either in breakout sessions in the future or the different community groups, you can identify which short-term strategies you may really want to work on. But really know that at the end of the day, it's the community's vision that will be able to accomplish some of the projects in the long term going forward. And then also, just one of the ways is we wanted to establish kind of a practical roadmap, steps that are in place in the implementation strategy, that if there's consensus or vision on the certain project, hopefully it will give a roadmap to how to move forward and what steps to take associated with it. When we were up earlier in the year and through the community outreach and discussion, we talked about opportunities and constraints. You all know and live these opportunities, but really, the marketability of the natural beauty, the recreational opportunities that are here, way of life is a business attraction, and as well as workforce, existing retail trade industries, the remote workers that are a part of the community, looking at marina acquisition, golf course. Remember, we talked about a little bit on incorporation, and I know that's been discussed. And last time we were up, the county's been doing an incorporation study for Birch Bay and kind of pointed to that work to really monitor it if that's of interest of you. The recreational whale watching, charter boats, how to build a little bit more tech, boutique hotel and spa. Looking at some of the existing buildings that we have here in Point Roberts and thinking about how maybe revitalization of those, keeping the historical nature and finding ways to do it. Tourist amenities, office space, the boat launch conversation, And then back at that time, and I'm not sure if the county's finished this or not, but the drainage study that's now been accomplished and developed to really help identify some of that. And then, you know, constraints, we talked about just the geographic isolation. We acknowledge as a community the zoning and shoreline management program limitations. Marina ownership is constraint to redevelopment, lack of sewer, stormwater, the internet speeds, we all know is a constraint. The workforce is also, you know, heavy reliance on the Canadian dollar and the unreliability of some of that as it relates to purchasing and buying down here. Seasonal home ownerships. We didn't create these. We really kind of took these from the input associated with the community. But we just wanted to kind of center the discussion today on that. And so the 5 strategies that are in the report, and I'd have to say it's a pretty thorough report. So like I'm going to go over the high level of it today, but make sure you go on and look through each strategy that you find interest in. But we have the Point Roberts Marina, the Resiliency Hub that there's a lot of momentum and discussion surrounding. Broadband is continuing to be top and center on work by the PUD, and I know a need from the community. The report really lays out sewer implementation and acknowledges different strategies that's associated with that and how the next steps, which could be curb funded if there's interest. And then kind of an overarching economic and environmental sustainability option that integrates some tourism, integrates the natural beauty of Point Roberts and kind of a way forward on where that goes. So I'll start with the Point Roberts Marina. We're all very aware of the marina. We're all very aware of the absolute community asset it is, and also of the opportunity that's associated with it. So one big component of the report, and then also just as you know, we find a way to revitalize the marina either through private ownership, public ownership, is a thought process about what does the vision of that redevelopment look like. We talked about kind of a maritime village. We also acknowledged a concept and a framework to blue economy and a working waterfront, drive a little bit more maritime business down at that location if the marina had more fishing vessels in the location and be able to connect to it. Kind of this concept of an eco marina or resilient waterfront. And then I wish I could tell you the top one. Oh, marina recreation. A little bit more passive use of the uplands development, really identifying the recreational opportunity. Not one of these has to be chosen. You know, I think really the visioning process and the community discussion about what it could look like to benefit the economic development will have little components of all of these. And so I think in the implementation, it talks about how do we kind of take the next step. But really, you know, the benefit of revitalizing the marina would be the upland developable acres that are associated with it, the pretty well used marina and occupancy that it is today, that with additional dollars into rehabbing some of the marina slips, there's likely much higher utilization. We also identified some just net revenue over a duration to speak to either private owners or public owners, the port, how it would pencil. There's resale opportunities with the upland land, which connects directly to the sewer implementation strategy.
That would be in 10 years, third point, total net revenue, approximately 3.4 million.
Over 10 years
Because
is 3.4 annually.
yeah,
Yep.
20, yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
We found some money.
Total net, not gross. Yep. You know, increased connectivity to the point, whether it be recreational, people accessing the point to access their boats, or just the increased developed location will drive some more visitors and drive more businesses in those locations. Improved emergency transportation, the jobs, there's housing options. Those could be workforce housing options, affordable housing options in the upland, and the overall public amenities. In the implementation strategy, we've identified a few grants and different financing options. And so this is our first time to kind of show the implementation. So, you know, if you're interested in the marina development, what are the next steps and how could we walk through some of those? And what we tried to do is identify parties that were responsible for some of that work. And so remember, these implementation strategies are on each one. And when you think about it, we then kind of pull out a short-term first featured action for the marina. And so really the first action would be to define the desired redevelopment scheme. So that would allow for some community input, would allow for some buy-in on what it could look like and how it moves forward. And we've identified that maybe the port, you know, the county and interested community partners could really band together and identify a steering committee, convene some stakeholders. You know, there's an opportunity to do some visioning on that and community engagement. And then we also want to recognize, and they're here today, Western Washington University in the planning department has some dollars through the state legislature to continue some of these efforts and build some community vision around the strategies that we've had. So thank you for joining us today. I'm excited to continue to work with you all and happy to be able to provide, you know, any input or level of detail that's associated with it. And, you know, I think the students and group at Western may not just be for this marina conversation, is really going to engage and understand the economic development strategies and carrying it moving forward. So another short-term action would really, you know, kind of define the strategic priorities. So really understand what type of infrastructure needs there would be. What are the constraints for development at that location, either critical areas or shoreline? And really, this goes to the next, which is the discussion of sewer system. The marina is an absolute jewel as it is. It needs work on it. The idea of revitalizing the marina, finding an owner to be able to invest the money, to be able to, you know, upgrade the facilities, to be able to really use what the asset is. And the sewer system would be about what opportunities there are for upland development and what kind of criteria and interest there would be. But we would need to solve the next part of the economic development strategy study, which is the sewer system. And I'll get to that here in a little bit. Any questions on the marina? What's that?
Have you bought it?
Have we bought it yet? Yeah, not quite yet. Not
Okay,
quite.
so why are you spending all this time on a privately owned project
Mhm.
with no sale in sight? It's like pipe dream, you know? There's a very good property that's for sale and available, the cannery on Marine Drive. Why not put all this attention and focus and vision into that? Buy that property, develop that property. Because trying to buy the marina from the current owners, good luck.
Okay.
Will freeze over before that.
That's good input.
Because the owls turned off right now.
Yeah, so that comment was just about the feasibility of acquiring the marina. And I think it was directed to the Port of Bellingham and what those opportunities are, because I think the comment to speak is that the current owner is likely reluctant to sell the property. So why don't we focus some efforts on some of the other locations here on the point, like the Blackfish Resort property? And that might be a better use of time and money.
And it's available for.
Yep.
Develop it.
So that is a part, I think, of one of the strategies. So we'll get there. So, you know, the next strategy that we've identified is one that a lot of people locally are working on, and it's the resilience hub. So, you know, establish a permanent multi-use community hub, support some of the social services, these ideas on economic development and emergency readiness, provide some infrastructure at a central location for job creation, the skill training, you know, micro enterprise development, foster a location for intergenerational engagement. That could be through youth, all the way up to seniors, and one central location, which the community center does a pretty good job. And then also increase community resilience through off-grid energy capabilities and shelter space. Where would that location be? I think is a really good next step, and thoughts from the community. We've identified a few locations. It's not in any way exhaustive list, but you know, the former point-to-point parcel location, or a resilience focused location near the fire district, the health unit, and the water district. There's a lot of properties that really could have the resilience hub located it. You know, maybe the Blackfish Resort. I think as we were doing this study, we were thinking one that was a little bit more upland, away from the shoreline, for more resiliency and long-term location. That would be more resilient to some of the natural emergencies that may be coming up, but the Blackfish location could serve certain components to it. And here we just identify the components. So, you know, a lot of people in this room are familiar with that. I've just kind of indicated a number of them, but you know, they really identify kind of the resilient power, a resilient communication location, operations, structure, and programming and services. So, you know, I think all of these could be located in one facility, or all of these could be located in different kind of facilities that the community builds the patchwork together to see where it goes. I think, don't think just of one location of the resiliency hub, but think about how these components could be patched together and supportive of each other in different locations. So, you know, the implementation strategy that's over there identifies some short-term, mid-term, and long-term. Really building the team. I know a lot of people some people in the community are working on it. I think, you know, short-term would be to think about funding for preferred alternatives, especially if a location is of mind, and then thinking about the sites that are available and having some discussion with that leadership about where to go. And then the funding components could be for the solar infrastructure, the battery backup, a few items that would be able to provide some resilient operations at that location. So this was just recognizing as the featured action, which again, just for the presentation, we wanted to pull out one action out of the implementation. And this could be to help the potential site selection. This could be a curb grant, which is what funded this location. I think there are a few other funding opportunities, either, you know, private PSE Foundation dollars, the T-Mobile Hometown Grant. You could also probably identify the Washington State Department of Commerce Building Communities Fund as an opportunity for it. But this featured action would be to kind of have that group that's working on the resiliency hub take the next step to identify some potential locations. And maybe that work's already going, which is great. But I think that is a short to midterm part of the report. And so what that group can be to be supported or try to find some additional dollars would be great. It was hard to do an economic development study and not identify the need for broadband. So I know how time consuming and how long the broadband conversation and how complex it has been here in the port. But I also want to recognize that without access to broadband, economic development will continue to be fairly hard in this location. And I recognize that there's a lot of work associated with the make ready and the pole work and locations of the facility. I spoke with Andrew at the PUD this week, and he would be happy to kind of come up and or present to the PRCAC on what the update is on that. But as of May or so of this year, I think about the last time I was up, the Department of Archaeology and Historical Preservation and the cultural resource led to the broadband group at the PUD to go back to the design, which will modify the underground work and have most of the broadband be pole ready instead of underground work. They may limit a little bit of the houses that will be able to get broadband from the PUD's project. But my understanding is that is still moving forward, and hopefully it will be accomplished by the end of next year, because that's the grant timeline that they have for the broadband study.
Yeah, Chris emailed me that him and Andrew, I'm supposed to get a hold of them just before Christmas so that we can schedule something end of December, beginning of January.
Perfect. So there is an action study in here, and then just kind of an indication of the mapping for the PUD's work on the broadband using those dollars. So I know Andrew well. I work with him on some of the mainland broadband projects. We're also, the port is working on one for North Linden and North Ferndale. And I can tell you that Andrew has a very good grasp of that project. And it'll be great for him to come back up and give a presentation with a little bit more detail.
Before somebody comes up and give a presentation, can we?
There's been a lot of
Oh,
conversation
sorry.
about
Maybe nobody can hear me.
and the LAMRID limited areas,
How do I raise
more
my
intense
hand?
rural development, and how do we implement the zoning and the neighborhood
hear
or
me.
the sub area plan
Oh,
that Point Robert
Trying to
has,
raise my hand.
and how do we drive some ability for development of businesses to be
Yeah.
to the level of
hello.
scale that investment will be
Raise
able
my
to
hand like
happen.
this.
Oh,
Jared's.
we got Jared and Lee. So wait, I'll have to do this.
Yes, Jared?
So, okay, now can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I think before we have a presentation about broadband, we should have a meeting with those in the know about alternatives, because my amateur understanding of the funding for fiber to the home is that it requires fiber and it requires to be underground, and somehow we're going to do it not underground. And Point Roberts is let's say a special place that to us, the whole project seems completely impossible. Like this will never happen. So maybe we can find some way to help the other projects that are feasible using infrastructure that we do have in place, like the Delta cable. And ideally, we'd be able to use the funds for that, and do it much cheaper, much faster, and cover everybody. So I totally understand. Everybody can raise their hand and say, you can't do it because of this, you can't do it because of that. But I want to find, can we have a discussion where we can find a path where we can help?
PUD projects all overhead,
It is.
but it's
Okay.
fiber.
But it's still brand new fiber, and it's still, I hate to say, a government project. So I'm a little skeptical it's going to happen in our lifetime.
Yeah, no,
Um,
I think, you know, the conversation, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me, Jared? Yep, I think the conversation that you bring up would be, you know, a fine thing for the PRC to consider. Just as it relates to that preparing for Chris or for Andrew to come up to have the conversation. But I, you know, also know that there's some limitations. Well, yeah, so I recognize your comment.
if PUD can come in and provide fiber to the home for 100% of the homes in Point Roberts within the next 6 months, let's do it. But I find that unlikely.
It's only inside of their grant area, Jared.
That's exactly right.
Yes,
So that's-
exactly, which
Yep,
is not
the other
terribly
area is
helpful.
20 PUD.
I mean, let's find something where we can help everybody.
And I see Donna has unmuted herself. Donna Hilty from Woodby Telecom. Did you have something to
Hello.
say, Donna?
Oh, I'm sorry. I had planned to be there in person today, but had some conflicts, so I just tuned in. Sounds like you're having an interesting conversation. Yes, it would be absolutely wonderful if we could get fiber to every home in Point Roberts in the next 6 months. That's not physically possible, and it is not practically possible. First of all, you're not even going to get the fiber built. To put into the ground or onto the poles in that kind of time. You're probably not even going to get the engineering done. So we have to be realistic about what it really takes to put these projects in place. The whole discussion with the gentleman that was just on the screen started with a false premise, which was that it had to be fiber and it had to be underground. That is not the case. We are waiting for the approval to hang it from the PSE poles. So that first premise that was the gentleman made is not actually true. Now, most of the grants that are out there are more about speed than they are the mechanism for getting it. So if we can persuade them that we've got another tool and we are looking at some other technologies, there's some other opportunities that we can be discussing. But this is a huge discussion, and we have to be very realistic about what it takes to do these things. Even in the best of terms, when everything goes swimmingly and you've got all the crews and all the labor that you need and all the permits, and there are no cultural or environmental issues, these are 3 and 4 year plans, because that's what it takes to get these things done. So happy to participate in a discussion. Maybe we can meet in person and talk about all the different alternatives that we have and just where the status is in all of these.
Yeah, me too.
Sorry to interrupt.
No.
Thanks, Donna.
Thank you, Donna. Allison, you want me to go back on?
Yeah, you can stay where you're at for the PUD.
Yeah.
There we go. Stuart, go back to Stuart.
So the other implementation strategy that is in the report is sewer. And, you know, the sub area plan and the existing zoning identifies different strategies and different level of development based off the type of sewer or on-site septic that is here at the point. And so the plan does a very good job at identifying that, you know, existing sewer system places significant limitation on commercial and residential development. 3 alternatives were analyzed: a community drain field, it could be private or public, and a centralized sewer system. So a little bit more on the community drain field. That'd be a system of pump septic tanks that combine flow from multiple sources and conveys them to a singular drainage field. And then, of course, the centralized sewer would be a system of different pipes that pump and collect the wastewater. And then in this idea,
would be to convey it to the wastewater treatment plant in Tawasin, Canada. It's not unheard of. Sumas currently pumps their wastewater north of the border, and then it's treated in that location. So when you think about the comparisons, what we did in the plan and report is want to show the different scenarios of on-site septic or sewer systems, what the benefits are, what types of industries would use those, and then the construction per dwelling unit that's associated with it.
Oh, that's not.
So we have a comment that we'll get to later. And so when you look overall at the different types of systems, we have an existing system, the community drain field, public and private, and then centralized systems. And what we wanted to try to start a conversation about is what type of industries or opportunities would be associated with each one, and how does the land factor into that, and then the housing of the units. And when you break down some of the construction costs per the dwelling units that's associated with each one, you'll see that, you know, centralized sewer has the highest price tag, but the number of dwelling units that could be associated with that centralized sewer, the cost per dwelling unit is the lowest of them all. Now, of course, there's a lot of components that go into what kind of development happens after a centralized sewer. But this work was just to really kind of show the cost of construction per dwelling unit, and then also how that's equalized out over the number of development that's associated with it. So, you know, in the implementation strategy, there's really the maintaining the existing septic systems that you all have here on the point, and then a couple of steps associated if there's interest in the community to do a sewer feasibility study. And in that, you could really identify some funding for the preferred alternatives. This work it could be funded through a CURB grant. And so, you know, if there's interest in the community looking into it, I think it would be really the county that could step in and maybe help go for a CURB grant associated with it. The economic development team at the port would help support that as well. But it identifies kind of related tasks and some considerations associated with it. Oh, yeah, so it's study and installation. So this study, the economic development strategy study, was funded through CURB. It was a planning grant. You can then go to the next level of CURB grants, which is up to $300,000, I believe, for the feasibility of infrastructure. And then you're able to access CURB loans for the county, the port, other public entities that are going to do the work, for low interest loans to help construct it. So this is just the first phase of CURB dollars that are available. It's a great question. So, you know, I think the sewer feasibility study, I think another component is to really kind of do some community visioning on where sewer is practical and where maybe development opportunities could come from. And, you know, this photo is kind of showing from the marina location of Tyee to the border where the existing connection is to the Tawasin facilities, and is also kind of co-located with some of the higher density zoning that's currently in place. So you would get a little bit more cost benefit to the development opportunities for the overall investment in sewer from the marina up next to the marketplace in that central business area, and then maybe down to the reef and some of those businesses that are there. And in that visioning, we could, as a community, talk about where maybe sewer is not needed, which is more the rural areas where residences are on the septic systems and may not see a lot of growth potential, or may want to keep that rural nature and not as many houses in those locations. And that would be a part of the next steps to really think through it. But there is some good state grants and loans that would be available if this is a strategy that the community wanted to get behind and see some value that's associated with it. It also, I think, would help for some of the businesses, or if there is an opportunity for private acquisition of some of the properties that have interest in some development that meets the existing zoning code to help facilitate this work as well. Any questions on the sewer feasibility? Yes.
I assume sewers have the same archaeological and First Nations issues that a fiber optic line.
There will be, as it relates to some of the in-ground work.
It's even bigger than putting a line in.
And so I think that that would be kind of a very high priority to understand. And mostly, and I know that this may even have some hurdles with the archaeological and cultural resources, but it would be finding locations that are within the road prism or the stormwater drains next to it, which have already been developed. But that's definitely a component to the feasibility that's associated with it.
I was just gonna note that the cost on a septic installation
Yes,
is not even close to correct.
it's much higher than that.
We work here in Point Roberts, we do projects over on Lake Whatcom. If I'm doing a gravity system, it's around $22,000. If we're not making it, if we're doing an Oscar, not, 12 inches to a water table,
Yep.
it's $33,000 for a single family home.
And that top one from 6,000, it's a
Exactly.
much higher.
It's 22 to 33. When you're talking about a community drain field, we installed one at the golf course for 32 homes. The cost of that was about $750,000.
Wow, so that would be this community drain field. Is that private? Or public?
It's a private community drain field, so it'll end up being done by the homeowner association, similar to Seabright.
Yeah.
Where the different homes will have a septic pump tank that then goes through sewer force main up to a tank farm, and then that tank farm distributes into 4 different causes of drain fields. And that does about 32 homes.
So it's 32.
I think it's 32
Yeah,
homes.
yeah. So that rises, these numbers fairly substantial, which would of course increase the number per dwelling unit,
Which makes sewer more affordable.
which makes sewer more affordable. And this is all of these are ballpark numbers. And so the feasibility study, I think, would take it that next step. Because you really could probably do kind of a combination of community drain fields and sewer feasibility in the next study that may.
Because that's basically what's at the marina.
Correct, is a community drain.
Well,
field.
it's a law system, a large on-site septic system.
Which is really kind of this term of community drain.
And there's actually one at the breakers.
Oh, there's. I don't know.
Holly would probably know the answer to this. If there's a sewer system for the business district, isn't most of that out of the archaeological zone? Well, i.e.
Most of it is, it's just the end of Gulf that is,
to the very ends of the road, that down by the beaches.
and a little bit by there.
So most of it is, it's not even, won't even deal with archaeology.
And I think, if there's interest in taking this next step, the cultural resource archaeology would be definitely more in depth associated with the feasibility.
Oh,
And would be in that study.
we have Councilmember Scanlon with his hand up.
Hi, can you
Hi.
hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, hi everyone. Sorry I couldn't be there in person tonight. I have to leave in a few minutes, but I just wanted to put a few things out there to consider. And first of all, Tyler, thank you for doing this. And I remember Allison contacted me. I think I had been in office maybe 3 weeks. And Allison told me about this opportunity to get this state grant. And I remember working with you, Tyler, and working before you move to the port to secure these funds. So thank you for the community for bringing up this idea and access to these funds, and Tyler for securing the funds for this work. Tyler, and for the advisory committee members, one of the things I'm thinking about here is which items from this work do we want to put into the comprehensive plan update? And so, for example, I worked with a few community members who brought up, hey, let's get that drainage plan, that draft that was done earlier this year. Let's get that into the comprehensive plan update. And I've been working with the planning department on that. So I just want to put that marker out there that if there are things that we want to continue to work on, we could put those in the comp plan to remind us to continue to do that work. So that's one thing I want to put out there. And then Tyler, I think, did I hear, is the county executive there? I thought I heard his voice.
Yes, he is.
Okay, and I see in some of these slides, you have a line in here of that the county will continue some of this work. And I'd be interested, Mr. Executive, in following up with you on who's going to do that, right? Because we do need to say, okay, it says county, but who specifically, which departments, and make sure that those resources are there to continue that work.
Yeah, thanks, Councilmember Scanlon. Really what we wanted to try to do in this study was to identify likely responsible entities so that there could be a next step, so that, those conversations could continue. And, in the sewer conversation, I think the county could help facilitate it. I think at the end of the day, there will need to be a local utility that really does that work. And, right now there's the water district and there's not a sewer district. So I think in the feasibility study, the operating entity and who would be interested in it would be a part of that. And I think either the county or maybe as a follow-up with the economic development team, the port could help facilitate that feasibility study. But I think county support would be super important to that point. And I will work with Allison, I think maybe about your other comment, Councilmember Scanlon, on the comp plan, because that's a great idea.
Thanks.
Really kind of pulling some of the work out and making some recommendations to get it into the comp plan to continue that work.
Thanks. And I don't know what it is about these meetings, but I remember being at one during a Canada-US hockey game, and now, meeting here during Canada's national baseball team playing the Mariners. So,
well, don't tell us the score.
All right, well, hold off. I do have another screen over here.
Thank you. Any other questions on the sewer feasibility? Yes, sir.
How do they utilize the kind of waste treatment systems?
Glendon's, do they use them here?
Yes.
Yes. Go Glendon's or just
Glendon's are an above ground system that you can use similar to an Oscar when you can only get 12 inches to the water table. They're the ones that are super, super tall, and they have a man-made media inside of them for drainage. But most people are going away from those and going to the Oscars because the Oscars are only about this tall instead of having this thing that's this tall.
then they serve usually just one home or
Yeah.
one business. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That all has them.
Okay. So
Is it right spot for me to speak, or we can?
why don't you give me couple more
Yeah,
slides?
that's what I.
Yeah.
Overall things I think.
Yeah. So the last one is the economic and environmental sustainability strategy. Ooh. And this is where, really kind of identifying what makes the point and building on that strategy to bring some resiliency in the economy and some vitality associated with it. And so, I think what assets does the community want to promote and develop, and what fits the community's vision to emphasize and to improve. And so this was the one where we looked at a couple of different communities in United States or in other locations that have a similar geographic isolated location? And how do you kind of build on what's already here? And year-round, small scale, locally owned food and drink. I think there's a brewery conversation in there, continuing to promote the golf course, cross promotions between the businesses, which the chamber and others do. The cycling tours, the guided self-guided cycling tours. This is the bike infrastructure. How do you identify the cultural significant locations, the history of the point, and really start to drive some tourism around it, and then also drive more people coming to the point, which will drive a little bit more business development. How do we capitalize on the beautiful natural assets that are here? And kind of the continued development of self-sufficient energy infrastructure. And I already said this one, but the cycling opportunities. So, you know, in here, I wanted to kind of point to a couple of different ones. You know, the bike infrastructure, I think the way that county parks has 4 different locations, and there's strong kind of commercial corridor down to the marina. How do you identify that infrastructure and the community's vision and a map associated with it? And then build some elements around those locations to make it more of a place that people would want to come just for the day, or build on that work that's associated with it. We also kind of identified, you know, having the Parks Department look at Lighthouse and the other parks that are here at a higher level through kind of a master plan to see what kind of improvements could happen in the long term. And the featured action for this one was to really build off the infrastructure, the bike infrastructure, maybe using the transportation dollars that the county has to be able to start that work, which is the gas tax, right?
Yeah.
The gas tax. That might be a funding source. You could also probably use a curb grant as a follow-up to do that work. There's also, you know, either Washington State Department of Transportation or Safe Streets. But identifying the network that's there, the trail systems that are in place, identify some points of interest that's associated with them, and then get the word out a little bit more. I don't know how many people are aware, but Bellingham Whatcom County Tourism has a really cool kind of marketing tourism strategy for gravel bike routes in Whatcom County. And one of them is Bellingham to Point Roberts. And then you get on the boat and you shuttle back to Bellingham. So it is really cool. It walks through some photos and some different opportunities. So it's building on those types of things and really kind of making Point Roberts more attractive because of the natural assets and the points of interest. And a lot of people are riding their bikes further because they're electric now. So it broadens the amount of people that can utilize it and where it goes. So that was kind of the action plan that I thought would be great, and where it goes. So yes.
That with you mentioning the safe streets, Point Roberts is in desperate need of having the streets safe for walking. I don't know how many times people are walking the side of the road with their kids, their dog. I'm one of the people that ride horseback, and we have this much room on the side of the road before we fall into a 4-foot ditch to get a 1,500-pound animal by, and I had to park on this far from my foot because he couldn't see. So bikes are great. And I know that the storm issues, you know, part of covering that and making space, but we're gonna bring in more people. On board with just this few small sections.
That have sidewalks.
That's it.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I mean, you could really kind of maybe integrate that safe street along those main points with this conversation. And I would think that the transportation dollars could help pay for some of those or find some curb grants associated with it. And then I would assume that the drainage study shows some of those locations on those 4-foot wide ditches that are next to, so it would have a better mapping.
It's historically worse. Like over 50.
Oh,
And so we do it out and it's, you know, we were safety vests, few of us,
yeah,
and, try not to get.
that's cool. That's a part of that community vision of what makes the point, right? And so if there is those smaller farms with horses and a group associated with it.
We get a lot of people driving by, which is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great.
I just want to point out, if you read the study, in total, you'll see that it starts to map out possible routes to start to methodically expand hiking, walking, and horseback riding trails to make that network. It's not that hard for us. It's actually parts of it are already there, and obviously parts of it are used.
Yes.
I've passed it before.
Yes,
Very
yeah.
thorough.
Yeah, thank you.
But, so there is thinking about this in this report. Obviously, every detail can't get covered in a half-hour session.
But it would be a really neat kind of next step, right? To look at where and how people are moving throughout the streets and where some improvements could happen to make it more safe. Yep, and where it goes. So, you know, next steps, Councilmember Scanlon brought up a really good one. You know, which parts of these strategies does the PRCAC and the community want to kind of maybe articulate back to the county to be included in the comp plan? The Port of Bellingham is working on the comprehensive economic. Oh, Councilmember Scanlon.
Oh, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I can come in when you're done with that thought.
The port's working on a 27 through 31 comprehensive economic development strategy. That's a countywide economic development document, and we'll be incorporating some of these ideas as we hear back from the community into that. Again, the Western Washington University work. Thank you to Senator Shoemake, I believe, in the legislature, and identifying some money to help that. I think they're going to be able to really come in and continue with this conversation about which of these strategies would fit the vision and how do we kind of continue to place make the Point Roberts and continue the work forward. And then as we identify items, I'm happy to help facilitate another curb grant to the state to take the next steps associated with it. So that's my presentation. I'll take Councilmember Scanlon's comment or question first.
Yeah, thanks. When you mentioned the boat and that idea of, I love the gravel bike. So I haven't done that ride yet. It's on my list. I've done some of the others on that guide. But there's a bill I've been following in the legislature. I'm sure other folks may have heard of it. It's called the Mosquito Fleet Act. Greg Nance, who's a member of the House who represents Kitsap County, has this bill in the legislature, and maybe it'll come back. I hope it comes back this upcoming session, but it does make it easier for transit agencies to run passenger ferries. So just like Kitsap has their fast ferry, there's some fast ferries in King County. It could open up opportunities for us. And I know some of those studies that have been done in the past about passenger ferry options throughout the Salish Sea. Point Roberts has been in some of those studies before. So it's something to keep an eye on for the community and for the port as we're all advocating with our legislators. So that's one to keep in mind as well.
That's great. Thank you. Elliot.
Yeah, I just want to make a quick comment. Public mosquito fleets are great. I would love to see what happen. I know there's a lot of discussion about it. One of the businesses operating out of the Port of Bellingham is a company called Island Opportunity. Island Opportunity does run, they have 2 boats now, about to have a 3rd. It's not super cheap. But if you were a group of bikes, for example, and I think that is how it's organized, you could collect together to take 10 or 15 people at one time. So there is a service now that does that. It's really only gotten running in the last 9 months, a year. They seem to be doing very well. So public option in the future would be great to be funded, but there is a service now with a drop vessel that can get a pretty good load across. So, I encourage you to look them up. It's private business. But when we're trying to foster, because they do quite a good job.
Yep. They're actually in that video and photos from the Bellingham Whatcom County Tourism on the gravel bike trail. Executive Sudhir.
Good evening and thank you everybody for coming. I think this is a very important conversation. I know it's getting late. I have a couple of more points I want to overlay to this strategy. The one thing that I know for the last 15 years I've been talking about the makeup, total population of Point Roberts and makeup of the population. I think we should probably talk about these things because if we have a vacation place and a retirement community, right? All the other things we are talking about, they are like a day event, like we say, flights. They will come in summer maybe 4 or 5 times in weekends, right? I mean, we talk about ferry and things. To me, it's more important, we should have been prepared for plane. This can actually bring the tradespeople. You need a plumber, you need an electrician, you need somebody else. There's no way. And it's so expensive. And for them to come through and all the charges, right? That we have, it will be a continuous thing, means every week. 2 days a week, because we know that, okay, plumber, a year, electrician, and 4 of them, 5 of them could be private. But I think that's another thing. The other thing is I remember several discussions with Point Robert residents. Is we do not want to change the character of this place. Now, when we say that word character of this place, it has different meanings in different things, right? But we should actually about that as a community. What we would like to see 20 years from here, from today, right? Because that's what, if we say, let's spend money on feasibility, everything, and find sewer, it will enable us to build more homes, affordable homes and things. Are we thinking about that? That there could be another 1,000 residents in Point Roberts. Right? I mean, those are the things I think we should see this and talk about. And we need more ratio of younger people. When I saw all these people from West, I said, oh my God, young people in Point Roberts, where they live. So I mean, we need that part also, right? Because we are trying to create a sustainable economy on the basis people come visit, spend money, and then the evening they go home, right? And another thing, since 9/11, what has happened? And what has happened in COVID or what happened now, our relationship of cross-border is another factor. We must consider that, right? It may be a short window of time it's happening, but what happened since 9/11 is permanent. Right? And how difficult it has become. I remember when I came from India and we would come to Point Roberts just for heck of it. Can't do that anymore. It's not the same thing anymore. So I think that is another factor we should consider. Broadband is the subject. I think that, and there's a truth to what Don said, and there's a truth to what is practically done. I know, I apologize standing here because I promised 4 years ago that we will be, anything we can do for you is at least get a broadband for everybody. And I did. And it's the way our system has worked. The state first said, hard fighting only. I've been fighting with them for 3 years to change the law and finally got changed. But the thing is, grant we got, it said hard fiber only. We were saying, make it hybrid. It does not work for everybody. Don't think of Seattle every time. think of rural communities, other places where the piles, each home is 1 mile apart. Or some homes are 2 miles apart. So we need a hydrant. Now it is there, but the current trend we have, we can do only hard pipe. And another thing, we can only run line in front of your house. It's up to you, you wanna take it or not. So the $4 million, wherever investment is made in dark pipes, means there's a wire going in front of your house. It is totally non-productive until somebody says, hey, I'll pay another connection. Because that is entirely up to the ISP and community, do they want that connection or not? States role ends once they run the wire. So I cannot assume that once the wires are done and everything, I'm on the pole and say, we have successfully implemented broadband in Point Roberts. Is it reaching actually the user? Is it connected to your laptop or not? I mean, we have to improve on that. Yes. We have to work with some public-private investment of sewer. I've been working on the sewer too. I recently met with the Assistant Defense Minister of Canada, I believe that Jill, I believe, is from North Canada, a couple of 3 months ago, to see whatever federal help that it can do. And then I met with the mayor of North Canada. I think what I learned is the situation has changed in Canada. The water and sewer is now metro, not city. It used to be that when we did in the Sumas, that we set up sewer, we had storage. It was city to city arrangements, right? But that's a pretty value district, so it's a different, that's exactly metro, it's the other. Metro is different, but this metro now is the planner for overall sewer and overall capacity of water. So before we go to a city, say, okay, hey, city, make an arrangement with us. So there will be more work. We need to, now this is some more help from the Canadian side for Point Roberts. Make a very good case. That's what I thought we should have the federal people also, because it's such a unique place. It's gonna need some pressure from the federal also to do this arrangement. So I just wanted to say that we're it's possible, and this is the different option we have is to do this work in a collective way rather than ready things for a more permanent solution, but we cannot have a secondary treatment plan. That would be very expensive, just 2 months. So I just wanted to share in addition to this, but we as a county are committed whatever we can do, and John, thanks John for listening in and participating in this thing. Yeah, we totally realize what you guys meant for 2 years plus, and it has lingering effects on this community. So we should look at that. Population makeup, population growth will happen to pay for all this. You need taxpayers, you need workers. Thank you.
There's a question.
That's
the question.
Yeah, sorry, we're gonna make it short and quick. I know it's going pretty long. My name's Harry Allen. This is first time privilege being here at one of these meetings. I've also been coming to Point Roberts. I think I learned how to walk on the beach down there. I am a Canadian though, and I am a Red Seal welder, Red Seal iron worker, commercial diver, and a certified underwater welder with 4 young kids. And I realized the magic that Point Roberts has, and I'm one of those people that looks forward to having further conversations with you guys, and hopefully having the support of you guys to come down here and bring what Point Roberts needs and not losing what Point Roberts has and is known for. So I more so just want to put my face to a name and say hi, and I look forward to having further conversations with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Does anyone else have any questions for Tyler?
Two cool parts about the Point Roberts study. Marina Worlds, which is a pretty well-known journal about marinas, was able to find the study and repost it and get the word out there. It was interesting. It was kind of on the marinas, but it was neat to see the reach associated with it. And then I don't know who knows what steampunk is, but a very well-known steampunk artist also saw this study and thought to himself, oh my gosh, what an amazing community to be able to find some art and find locations to be able to kind of attract and build off of what the community is. He's done some amazing work. And it was just neat to see how many people were interested in Point Roberts and in the economic development strategy study. So I think it shows that, you know, hopefully this gives a little bit of a roadmap, a little bit of ideas that fits within where a lot of you all are working on. And I'm happy to come back to PRCAC and help facilitate next steps or the conversation associated with it. So.
Well, thank you for coming up to Point Roberts, and I was very happy to hear that you are in favor of the ferry from the point to Blaine. I have been advocating for either a tunnel or a bridge, but I'll settle for a ferry. We need a connection to the mainland. If history hasn't taught us anything, 9/11, COVID, and now the border tariff wars, we need that connection. And with that connection, we will have a bit of a population increase, but that's the way I feel the point needs to go for economic survival. So yes, ferry, Port of Bellingham, Point Roberts, Blaine, sounds good to me. It's feasible. Let's do it.
So I want to thank you, Tyler, for making the drive here. We're probably skipping your dinner or eating it in your car.
A little bit of both.
And I look forward to having you back up and also working with you on
Yep.
everything here going forward.
Great. Thank you, Allison.
Thank you. So we're just gonna quickly move on to just a little bit of quick business. We just have our monthly correspondence. Whatcom County response to the final environmental impact statement for countywide comprehensive plan. As to the comments received from the PRCAC, Brian?
Quite simply, the comments that we made our last meeting, were forwarded to the county, the planning director forwarded them to the consultant and states that it would be included as an errata. They accepted everything.
Perfect.
Okay.
Like it when a plan comes together. Next was we received a request that also went to the county, to Set Pulse office. Requesting to legalize all wheeled all-terrain vehicles on Whatcom County roadways. This has been referenced to, I think he said there was only 2 or 3 counties in which side-by-sides that have plates, signals, seatbelts, everything else. Whatcom County is one of the only counties that it is not legal. He had brought his side-by-side from his home in Snohomish County to Point Roberts, had driven it to the music festival, and our deputy pulled him over and let him know that you can't do that here. So that was a recommendation to the PRCAC to also follow up with Whatcom County to see if this is something that could be changed in the Whatcom County code. So we will follow up on that. Obviously, we just did the economic strategy study from the Port Bellingham. Elizabeth, workshop on water users exemptions.
Okay, so this is from the Department of Environment. They're doing a water adjudication inventory. We've discussed it many times, but for people who have a well on their property, and if you want to maintain your legal right to use the water and protect the value of your property, you do need to fill out a court claim form. And they will help you with that. And to that end, they're doing 3 free workshops, one in Ferndale, Deming, and Everton, I believe.
Everton.
Yes, October 28th, 29th, 30th. There are posters up in the community, the library, here at the community center, the marketplace, the gas station. So if you do have a water well on your property, it's in your interest to do this. Thank you.
Next is we had Bob Hillman present a workshop for PointNet broadband. It was here at the community center on Tuesday. I know Jared will be hosting that, for anybody who missed it and wants to find out what his project is about. The next was the update from the PUD on broadband, which was just, we are going to talk again in December. They're finalizing some things and they will come up and give us an update then. Letter from Elizabeth Mason to Schumach regarding universal health care, which is in regards to a Washington State project that is being worked on for universal health care in Washington State. And I think you were asking Sharon if she would come up
and talk about it, yes. So there are several senators who are supporting the bill. This is a grassroots advocacy group that are trying to get legislation in place for universal health care for all of Washington State. And she covers our area. So as part of the taxpayers, we will host that town hall if she's able to come up either this year or next year. So it's called Washington Whole Goal. Get involved in it. They're looking for volunteers. And wouldn't it be nice if we had universal health care in Washington? Thank you.
Now we're in a new business. Our first item is Clint Wertz, who was one of our at-large members, has permitted his resignation from the PRCAC. So applications for a large representative are available. There is a link on the county website that we will be posting on Nextdoor and other places. Normally those are appointed in January or February by the executive's office. We will be posting that so that as many people as possible can put their foot in the door and join our fun. It is fun. It's just, it is actually a lot of work. A lot of people don't realize that volunteering on these boards isn't just coming to a meeting. I probably do about 20 hours a week. And it is work, but it is, I think, very, very, very fulfilling. You know, being able to actually accomplish things for the community, work with community members. You know, I would encourage anybody who has any free time, you know, it can be, you know, 2 or 3 hours a week, you know, it is very, very fulfilling. Next we have Maple Beach restrooms and parking and seawall repair. Would you like to come up, Mr. Bennett Knox? I can. So myself and Elliot and Wayne Lyle from the Chamber of Commerce met with Bennett Knox in regards to this request from the Chamber of Commerce to look at possibilities down in Maple Beach. Lord yours.
So I'm Bennett Knox, Park Director in Washington County. That's the one. So we did receive the letter. I got a little preface for this, is, you know, I've been up here a number of times. It was after the festival, Strength and Things Festival, got the opportunity to take my wife, and I believe not during the daytime, but at sunset, when everybody, really using, like, I got to see firsthand how the neighborhood is really using the area, and I've been up there with staff during the daytime, you know, and there weren't a lot of people, but this was really instructive for me. I'm concerned about how he was using the facility and what it meant for, you know, traffic patterns, as you're driving a vehicle down the road, and you've got people using roads, families, strollers, bikes, all ages. It was just an so, really eye-opening for me. So we kind of came out of that with the thought that really what is a longer-term solution to the problems, which is just explain the Parks Department's responsibility. We have the title. We can kind of stop at the seawall. To be honest, seawall is really right away, public works responsibly. So we've always kind of had this, you know, how do we resolve this issue? What's our role? So we probably said no more in the past to what might the solution be. So what I would like to propose, and what we met on site, so we met with Elliot representing the chamber, or part of the chamber, Allison, USCAC. There was one of our individuals in the neighborhood.
It was Wayne Lyle. He is the president of the Chamber of Commerce.
Yes, so that's that part, but so what I would like to propose is change in the traffic pattern This is a suggestion that we maybe go to a one-way, loop, along, the ADU. It has the potential, if we do this, to think in terms of the light connectivity that is outlined in the report report. So this idea that, how we can change the traffic patterns to make it more amenable to bikes and pedestrians, and then ultimately try to think about connectivity between Maple Beach and other parks. But starting with Maple Beach, what this could do is give us the opportunity to create neutral parking on side streets. I think there was the consensus with that was probably possible. And in the process, creating bike lane, we might be able to then expand that's one odd, the area where pedestrians have access along the seawall and create some space that could be more park-like, separated place within it. Trash cans, usually toilets, the things that we would really need to really resolve on from some of the issues. So I think the challenge is, meeting everybody's goals and objectives, particularly not creating a situation that's not gonna be something that the neighborhood is going to want, so it's really important to do this right. So what I proposed is, this seems like it would be eligible for the transportation benefit program as it relates to the right of way. We could use that to do a study that would give us an outline of what this could be. That would then give us the opportunity, as it relates to park improvements, there are some other grant opportunities that we could explore that might leverage that funding, so we can start to see kind of how this could be implemented. So that's, what we left the meeting with, was that we would come back, parts of, we develop a scope of what we would propose, to use funding for. Submit that to the PRCAC, I guess directly, not the chamber, but the PRCAC, both of us together, okay? And then get response on that, and then potentially move forward with a request, for parts of the work. I have discussed this with Public Works, so, this fund is managed by PRCAC or
And then Public Works.
And Public Works.
We give recommendations to Public Works, and then Public Works takes it to Whatcom County Council acting as the TBD.
So parks would really be leading, but I think if there's an opportunity and we're gonna need to engage Public Works, so that would be a commitment that we've got in their directive that we would work together. But the park kind of taking the lead, so, that's what I was going to present. I think there is a short-term issue where we're looking to work with the Parks and Rec district. So I know that our staff has had communication with them. I think we can kind of stall on that, so we need to retest that off. So this is more of a longer term approach, but if there's a short term fix, I think there are opportunities, and we just need to follow through.
Perfect, yeah, this started as a conversation, from the Chamber of Commerce, reached out to the PRCAC and then created this meeting. And I did actually look and found that, yeah, there's some grants, especially if we add in a bike lane. So I think that, this is all positive, and I think it's great that we've got, Chamber, 2 different divisions, and I know, Point Roberts Parks is involved as well and has been talking to, Chris in your office to be involved as well. Seems that we have our paddleboard program and things down there. So, yes, Bennett?
That's it, Bennett, sir, I have a question for you. Did the park district, submit a grant for the wildlife viewing grant this year? And if not, why? Did you say wildlife viewing grant, which I emailed you several times about, and I was more than willing to supplement the grant if it had been given. So one for viewing telescope at Lighthouse Park.
Sorry.
You got several emails about it.
And I apologize.
Did you submit a grant for it?
We did not submit a grant.
That would have been one of the easiest grants to get, because you have the whale trail, you have North American Flyway there, and we're a community that doesn't get a lot of support and other things. You could have easily justified that grant. Now you have to wait 2 years for me to submit it. I waited 2 years to tell you about it for this time. Now we have to wait another 2 years before we can get it.
So it'll be eligible again in 2020.
Yeah, 2 years, yeah.
Okay, well, we can all put that on our calendars.
When you, the little tag license plate for the parks, districts, that's what that money goes to.
Oh.
This opportunity?
Yeah, that's a really big mission right there.
Put it on our calendar so we don't forget in 2 years. I have all kinds of those because RCO grants do that.
Yeah, I think we should coordinate.
Yeah.
a little bit on
Yeah,
how-
I'm gonna reach out.
I think that's part of our.
Yeah.
proposal.
The Maple Beach Homeowners Association. Yeah.
part of the code they're looking to.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. I didn't know. It's happy there was such a situation about it. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's here, so, right.
And yeah, the seawall is totally different. That's a discussion we have to have with Public Works, but I really want to thank you for coming. I want to thank you for meeting us in the pouring rain as we got soaking wet, and working on this project. And I think it's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So that is the discussion for us that we're gonna continue on. Well, business request for use of transportation benefit district funds by Point Roberts Garden Club. Are you doing?
Well, yeah, well, I'll just start and then stop. We'll be
Okay.
questions. The garden club, I think it's been, this is their third year of using funds. They should too.
Longer than that.
Keeping the maintenance on, tidy. And so part of our request last year with the county to use the, it's like less than half. It's a very low percentage of the funds. Yeah, it's about under $10,000 to use, or like
You're maxing 10.
yeah, and so we're just coming in again, saying, county, so we didn't have to bring it to you guys, but we'd like to keep you guys informed and keep the support of us, the garden club, being able to use credit funds to hire SEMA to continue that maintenance from bulk to basically marketplace and the feeding and keeping that cleaned up, and then the garden club does additional patients for our little for the daffodil bulbs are and things like that. So we're having to ask for continued support. Everything is being funded.
Anyone want to make a motion?
Okay, sure.
You want to make the motion to continue to support the garden club,
Yeah.
use of CDD funds?
Right.
Did you get that?
Yeah, you get that? Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Thank you.
Okay, I will send that email off to Elizabeth Cosa.
Thank you so much.
Next is update on broadband. We've kind of already discussed that. We know where we're sitting with the PUD. Would be tell, I've been emailing with Donna and Martha. Basically, there is no update, waiting for the USDA, for the grant funding. Decisions have to be made, as well as decisions, from the archaeological, perspective from the Lummi Nation and the state. And we will just update as we find out things. Next is the Seabright Beach access. Annelle is doing that and she is away. For those who don't know what that is, there used to be stairs at Seabright that were public use off of the public access trail. We lost the stairs during a storm. And right now it's being looked into to see if those stairs by the plat have to be rebuilt or if it's just a trail. So it's just work with the county to see based on the plat, you know, how that's gonna work out. Because right now, even the upland trail is not being maintained for people to be able to use. So that was supposed to be an agreement between the developer and Whatcom County Parks, that trail would be maintained by Seabright Homeowners Association along APA and such, and currently it's actually not being maintained. So we're trying to work with the Homeowners Association as well to try and get those trails maintained so that the public can use them based on their conditional use permit that was granted by the county. Next is the DNR timber permits.
Can I interrupt for a second? Bennett
Yeah.
Knox is there, and so is Mark Robbins, who did a work along the Seabright Trail. Could we hear what their findings were by any chance?
I can speak to.
Oh, okay.
So. My understanding, and then we had communication with PDFs, you just shared, as far as the county parks, we do. The documents, the plat does reference county parks, holds the easement for the one along the PA. The Seabright stairs, that's really an enforcement issue ultimately, that would involve the county, go through a PDFs to be responsible for that, my understanding.
but it's really the developer that's responsible, so I think it's a question of priority maybe in terms of, enforcement of that, but that's not really county park control, so if we did look at it, I think it's really, that's a challenging situation, I don't really have an answer. Also on what, yeah, well, the park council always is doing APA, and I'm looking into, bring a planner to include at least that movement in our overall planning, and it does relate into the overall strategy. For us, it's, you know, we know it's there. Connected to it is an issue, some kind of a long-term issue that we're gonna now put that on our radar screen. Maintenance of it, I mean, it's on the responsibility of the developer, so, you know, I guess if we need to write a letter, I'm happy to do that, but, I don't really know the mechanism for requiring them to enforce it. Speaking of,
Yeah, it's the same owner as the marina.
So-
If that trail was kept clear and clean, we have used it in horses that we can't now, and I'm guessing the trail part that's along the bluff, that's Seabright's responsibility, they're not.
Both are.
Yeah.
we do so. Maybe it's approved in one other spot.
Okay, so next would be Department of Natural Resources timber permits. This discussion came up because, so Point Roberts has a special overlay district, which requires you to only be able to clear a certain percentage of the trees depending on your lot size. If you have a half acre or more, you can only clear 50% of the existing trees. But there was a parcel that cleared more than that because they were able to get a Department of Natural Resources permit, logging permit, and the discussion was started that whether or not Point Roberts should consider to petition the state to have no DNR permits allowed in Point Roberts, and that all of those permits would go through Whatcom County PDS through the land clearing process. So that was the start of the discussion. So if anybody's that tall, you might be interested in that. Because right now you can go ahead and pull a Department of Natural Resources permit and clear as much as you want. So that is a further discussion that we would be having.
And is in critical habitat, that's mapped by
The edge of it is, and yeah, that would have been part of the, again, that's part of the Department of Natural Resources that long. Once it goes to the Department of Natural Resources and they get a permit through the Department of Natural Resources, that is no longer a Whatcom County issue.
Right, I'm just saying,
Right.
yeah, that.
So that's where we fall into that. Yeah.
Make sure, or, you do have it now, so you'll be notified if a permit is,
Yes,
for
the
it.
PRCAC will get notified where in the response, yeah.
And that way the community can go to the public hearing and argue against it.
Yes, Brian did all of that, so it comes to the PRCAC, you know.
So there's some other resource.
Yes. Okay, next was the Point Roberts Taxpayers Association is requesting the PRCAC move to increase the TBD tax. And I'll put 2%, it's actually 2 cents per gallon.
Yeah, 2
It's
cents.
not 2%.
Yeah.
Yes, from the 1 cent per gallon to the 2 cents per gallon, which is allowable, by law, which would require a ballot measure.
Yeah.
This is going to be something that we need to actually have town halls, lots of communications with the community to find out if that's something community actually wants.
Yeah.
Yes, it's only 1 cent per gallon, but right now with taxes as they are with everything, you know. that extra
And with
1 cent
Canadians not coming down as much, our revenue's going down, so the 2 cents should level it off. Yeah. Maybe.
Who knows?
But again, that is a more community-wide discussion to have.
Right.
And in my personal opinion, this is not something that we would be even considering to be putting on a 2026 ballot. Because again, we do have a large Canadian,
Interesting.
contingency that are mainly only here from May on. So that would not be a decision I would want to make for the community when we have that large percent, 4,000 people that are coming in the summer.
No.
Okay. Second public comment, now that I got to talk a lot. Does anyone have any questions? Yes, you may go.
I'm just curious because, it's nice that you brought all these young, well, because you brought down the median age of point at least for this evening. But who is the leader? There's gotta be somebody in charge here. I'm looking over there because I get this sense, like Obi-Wan Kenobi. So I'm old enough. So, are you the leader and who are you?
Sure, hi.
Okay?
My name is Tammy Laniga. I'm a faculty member at Western Washington University in the Business Planning or Urban and Environmental Planning and Ecology Department. We're in the Ecology Environment at Western. And I teach in the Urban Planning program, and I colleague here in the field, like I say. We, are here to our planning program. We teach courses in community development and land use regulations, and we have a planning studio where we do work with communities, helping with like creative visioning, looking at places like coming up with alternatives for where you might put new development, how you might rezone an area, how you might create new ordinances if that were to be the thing to update a sub-area plan, things like that. It's practice, right? So it's work that we do to help the community continue conversations. And then of course, those are ideas that would have to be picked up by, real decision makers. But I think the value of having students come and participate in community and listen is to maybe get ideas that are outside the box. And I heard some really great, actually, ideas even here tonight. And I was smiling when Bennett, we haven't met yet, but hi. Earlier, I think maybe when Tyler was talking, and I wrote a note in my notebook about traffic. I was like, when you mentioned the horses and the traffic and getting out of roads, I was like, there needs to be some traffic modifications around here, maybe some one-way roads. And then you mentioned them, and I was like, oh, great. So anyway, we are, these students with me right now are in my current community development class. What we're doing is reviewing all of the stuff, the economic development study and the Center for Economic Research, Business and Research, CBER, it's another entity at Western. They did an economic development study up here a couple of years ago. There's some other resources. You all have put together some plans that I found on your website. So we're looking at that and doing sort of a gap analysis of like what else is not known yet that we could learn from. And like an outreach plan, thinking a little bit about like we have some time between now and June of 2027 when we have some funding that Sharon Shoemake was able to get through in the legislature for our program to do some work up here. So we're excited to introduce ourselves and figure out kind of what the timing is and what the appropriate space and all of that is going to be. So anyways, we're excited to build off of the study that we've done.
Well, also, we would love to work with you and your students. And anytime you guys want to come up, especially different times of the year.
Yeah.
So that you can experience the difference between there being 1,000 of us here in the winter and there being 5,000 to 6,000 of us here in July. So that you can just see, what the differences are, the makeup of the community, and also walking traffic patterns, biking, everything else. Cause it is two completely different worlds, right? You come up here this time of year and you're like, and also driving around the point. You came down Tyee and you see acreage. You come down Gulf, you don't see a lot of development. But if you go down to the bay, all of the lots are 50 feet by 100 feet, and it's house, right? So you can see the different areas of Point Roberts, because they're kind of clustered.
Yeah.
And, you know, the different parks and the horses and all of the fun stuff. Go out in a kayak one day,
Yeah, so,
take out a paddleboard.
so thanks.
Yeah.
And, you know, we only next ideas from the outside. Okay, you can, you know, send messages or stick them under the door, or perfectly okay.
My son's 20, he gives me all kinds of ideas.
Yeah, so there it is.
Mom, you want me to stay in Point Roberts? We need to do this. Right?
All right.
And
Yeah,
the child who refuses to own a car and rides his bike everywhere. Trust me, I hear about the bike lanes.
so thank you.
And thank you for coming up. That's
Yes.
Paul Bennett, Tyler, really appreciate it.
Yes.
And John, Bob has a question.
I did have an announcement. We closed on the cable, transaction today, this morning at 10 o'clock.
Does that mean you have money?
He owns the cable.
We have some money, the cool thing is that, we just acquired the whole company, so not only did we acquire the asset, but we
Congratulations.
acquired Sky. We dumped the non-functioning partners, and, Ian Campbell, who was on the, town hall the other day, my partner, and I will be, watching as quick as we can.
Okay, and get your franchise agreement in, please.
The lawyer has done his hands, we couldn't really do that until we.
Yep.
Have the problem.
That's right.
Now that you have the cable on the cables, that's great. Now you can do the franchise paperwork with Whatcom County and next step, and looking forward to hearing about it.
Oh, well done.
And I want to make sure that Jared heard that, but I saw a thumbs up, so, yeah, he's on board, and, we're on our way.
And I'd add, like, Bob held a town hall, but a town hall doesn't happen by itself. None of us are islands. So Lee, thank you for getting involved and for printing the flyers. And thank you, Jared and Bob, for a good town hall.
Please send this up. Thank you.
No worries. We all had a good time.
Yeah.
Lee, you have your hand up still?
I can't figure out how to make my hand go up, so maybe she can't figure out how to make the hand go down. I don't know.
I was gonna say, that's a pretty.
I'm
funny
back.
thing to do.
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay.
My question is for Bennett Knox, if he's still there.
Yep.
Oh, good. The sound, for Zooming isn't that great, and I might have missed something, so correct me. But I am really dying to know who exactly in the county is responsible for enforcing the HOA developer at Seabright to get those stairs rebuilt and those trails redone. Do you have any idea, Bennett? Because every time we approach different departments, no one wants to take the responsibility. And it's quite frustrating. And I did hear you use the word challenging. So that may be a part of it as well. But do you have an answer for us where we can go with this?
For the Seabright stairs, my understanding is the appropriate entity for enforcement of that is PDS. Because it's written in as the county specifically, and they are the entity that should enforce that. As it relates to the trail, county parks was specifically mentioned. So, but, I don't know what I think we can follow up on that. I will say that I'm admitting that has not been a priority, as you all are probably aware of that. I'm just now coming to understand that easement was there, so that's egg on my face. So I'm committing to, what we're gonna do. I can follow up with a letter, but I think I probably need to coordinate that with PDS. Longer term, this is just, I'm admitting that we're trying to build capacity as a department to be more of a part of the regional trail system in the county overall. We're hiring a staff person, planner. We've been trying to hire for about a year. We haven't succeeded, but we're close, we think. So this easement is going to be on our list, and we look to work moving forward with the community in terms of this vision for bike lanes. I think that involves public works. So I'm admitting that as a priority for our department,
this stretch doesn't connect to anything, it's in a, minimal number of users. Maybe there are some, but it's not really a priority of our department, but I'm willing to follow up with a letter to the developer. But beyond that, I'm not sure exactly how I can leave the deal. That's my honest answer.
Oh, great, thank you. I can really appreciate that. But as far as minimal use, the upper trail would get a lot more use because we don't have any walkways on the sides of our road, and that's a major walkway traffic that goes up to Lily Point, just FYI. Thank you so much, Bennett, for being here.
Anyone else? I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn, thanking you all for coming tonight.